have a couple of things. So I don't know if you're referring exactly what have we learned since we like started participating in Adept play, or what have we learned in general about role playing. But I guess I can answer both. Um, I think a while back, for like a couple of years, in 2018 and 2019, I was completely burned out on the entire role playing thing. And I didn't really understand why, but it seemed that, the games were not coming together anymore. And a little bit was personal problems, but a lot of it was that I kind of hit a wall in the type of and quality of game that I could play, and that I wasn't interested in settling for mediocre games anymore, because I had played enough of that. And so while in the past I was okay, like if every now and then a game isn't that good, but you still made it happen, and we still spent some time with some people. Then nowadays, maybe even because I have less time, it started being like much more quality focused, and I didn't really know how to hit that quality consistently, and so it felt like oftentimes the games were a waste of time, or that maybe we spent some time with each other, but we could have gone drinking, or we could have played some board game, and there's no real point of why we're doing this, only to say like we are role players. And then around Christmas, my best friend and his boyfriend wanted to play Dungeon World, and so I organized like an impromptu session. And so the thing is, it didn't end up even being about the game. It's just because I like these people very much that we ended up enjoying the game very much because we understand each other. And so that got me like a little bit thinking, and I started getting into reading stuff again, and then I ended up on Adept Play, which I already knew that it existed because I've been a patron for like since you launched it, but I haven't really been following the progression of the project. And then you opened up the Discord, and I started interacting, and I think the biggest outcome of this that I learned, and I keep going over and over this point whenever we interact. So, but it's an important point for me, is the entire discussion about intuitive continuity, because I felt that before I wasn't really able to understand when I'm leading the story and when I'm letting it go. That sometimes I let it go and it happens, and sometimes I'm scared of letting it go, and then I hold too tightly onto it, and then I'm not even satisfied, but I feel that I have to do it, right? And so the kind of thing that I learned this year is really to let go, like to let the other people do their thing, and to just play my role, and even in a GM role or in a player role or in GM-less games, whatever, but just to let the things happen, and don't worry about being in control, right? I think that's the important outcome for me.
I have a similar experience with sort of coming out of the whole intuitive continuity thing, I think, or trying to find my way out of it. What do I mean by this? Well, for several years, I had been the sort of games I was running. I think I tried running Fate, and I tried some different PBTA games, and always with the idea that I was. I never specifically had the idea that I was controlling the story. I had already been exposed to the story now ideas that I was like I knew that's what I'm not trying to do is control the story, but it's actually, it can be very subtle and very deep rooted, especially with these games that give you so many. They either give you so many ways to control the story, or there's this void at the bottom where nothing happens unless you control the story. So I was in that sort of situation with some of these games. Playing extensively on Adept Play it has been really helpful in seeing what kind of preparation and like the situation development helps you, gives you a groundwork to where you don't need to control, for something to happen. Mm-hmm. And just seeing how you can put together those elements of just having like playing with the DNPCs and the hunteds in Champions Now, or in the kickers and sorcerer and things like that. So that, am I making any sense? I don't know.
I think you're making a lot of sense.
I guess I was just going to sum it up in saying that so creating situations and how to do it is a big thing that I think I've learned, right? And that's something. And that's what I wanted to just like focus what I was saying on. So go ahead.
Okay. I'm only playing, but I've learned to play here, and I've learned to throw myself out of the window and see if I can fly. And I'm still learning a new language. I'm still learning to communicate. But I'm learning pretty fast, and I'm learning on the website because there I can read, I can hear different voices, I can come back to things, I can ponder them, and I can even ask and get an answer. And by that, I learn fastest. So I'm still learning as fast as I can.
I think probably what I've learned over the last year, a little bit more, is one, I enjoy playing with, and I really needed to expand my the people I played with. I enjoy playing with people of different backgrounds and different experience, and it's a really great experience for me to do that. As far as I've learned to trust my instincts more when it comes to not so much world building and more situational. Let's get into it right now. Let's not worry about yesterday or tomorrow. Let's focus on what's in front of us. It's been a really good as far as playing different games, examining them from a creative standpoint and from a GMing standpoint and from a player standpoint. And I will just quick jump ahead to the question. I will say that, Helma, I really appreciate your enthusiasm. I've missed that. I haven't had that enthusiasm in a long time. So watching you be enthusiastic and jumping into games and asking questions and stuff, that's fantastic for me. That's really good stuff.
Is there something specific, Sean, that you can say you either didn't know or were looking at in a way that you now think wasn't right, and that you have come to some conclusions about, particularly things that change the way you play or think about it?
Sure. Specifically, even though I haven't really run Champions Now, the two questions and the immediately jumping into a situation where before I would sort of rely on those old tropes of trying to get a group together and then a lot of backstory and being frustrated with the fact that the groups weren't meshing. And especially coming off the disastrous Star Trek adventures, which I've wrote about a little bit.
Not enough, in
it
my
was
opinion.
really, it really, yeah, maybe. It was really, it's as close to me saying, screw it, I'm not gonna do gaming anymore as I've ever come. And I don't blame my players, not one bit. I don't blame my players at all.
You're such a nice person.
Well, other than the responsibility we all have for the game. You know, I don't think anyone sabotaged the game. I don't think anybody had ill intent.
Right.
But I don't think that we were not on the same page. So relying instead on, we've talked about situations on a seminar, I believe, and it's been brought up here. Specific right now, stay focused right in front of us. What's going on here has helped me be a better GM for sure, and I think hopefully a better designer as well. Situational awareness is maybe the specific thing I've learned.
Mm-hmm. Greg, did you have any thoughts?
I understand the question is, what did you learn from Adept play? Is that it?
What have you learned? Yes, or correct. And it doesn't matter if it is very general. It doesn't matter if it's one single rule in one single game, something very specific. It doesn't matter if it's important or not.
Yes. There's a lot of things I've learned from Adept
okay.
play. So now really a lot. So I can do an inventory. I'm just saying what it comes. But first, I've learned what I don't want to do anymore in RPG games. First thing.
Okay.
I've learned that old games are sometimes better than new games, which was a new idea for me.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes even older editions are better editions, which is a new idea for me. The intuitive continuity discussion and the idea that you don't need to have a group, but you can just do what you always did with a group and all the character in the same scene, with all the character in different scenes, and it just works the same, and
right.
it's far better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I learned I think I learned how to GM Cyberpunk 25 years after the game. So I'm rereading it. Those are the greatest discussion. I think I've learned to not do intuitive continuity again, even if it does not mean to do emergent plot. I'm not sure if it's clear, but at least I'm not struggling with the game and trying, to get the story where you want, to get the characters in the location you want, etc. At worst, I say you're all there and just play.
Right. I mean, if it's that important, sure.
And I learned about a lot of games. I didn't know anything about D&D actually, or a bit part when I was young, like some of the games of ADD I have played. But I learned a lot about D&D and the history of the hobby. Well, there's a lot of things more. I learned how to better prep my games, or to prep differently, and I think it was one of the most interesting things for me when I came in the website. It has been like 2 or 3 years I was looking for books, actually, rule books or blogs, who were helping me to prep a session. And generally, everything was about building your campaign, before playing the campaign.
Right. Write it first.
Yeah, and I think that was the first thing that got my interest with Apocalypse World, because that was the first rule book I've seen who says, here's how to prep the session.